All right, we are officially live, so we are going to give it a second here for people to get a chance to get notified and connected, and then we'll get going.
This. I'm going to put a bar in.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, make sure those machines are running. We wouldn't want you to take any time down.
24/7 production.
That's right, baby. All right, everyone. Welcome to another Friday live stream. I'm obviously your host, Silencer Student, aka Joey. We've got Andrew should be, I believe, on the top left of your screen. He is the owner of Otter Creek Labs. And then John should be at the bottom currently of your screen, though he's out of his chair at the moment because he had to go throw another bar in the bar feeder for his CNC machine because the guy never stops working. So he'll be right back. But John is Andrew. You give John his title. I don't exactly know what John's title is.
He's the other half owner. So like I don't own 100% of Otter Creek. Me and John have split ownership of it. And yeah, he does half of everything and I do half of everything.
Yeah. And then John also had a FFL prior to Otter Creek. Just it wasn't really doing public stuff, right? It was just manufacturing.
Well, when he got his FFL, he wasn't doing any manufacturing.
No.
He got it. I think he got it just so he could have like full autos and transfer stuff to people locally and stuff.
Gotcha. There he is. So he's back. So obviously, I'm gonna just go ahead and start off by letting you guys each say anything you want to say before we get going, and then we're gonna just kind of bang through some questions as well as whatever you guys in the crowd want to ask. Feel free to comment, and we'll get to every question as quickly as we can. But tonight's topic, kind of, as much as it can be, we'll go into other things as well. But we wanted to talk about the Polonium 556 cans, maybe their development, the use cases, just general stuff like that. And we're just going to let things kind of see where they go. Kick it to you, Andrew.
I don't think I really have anything I want to say. Starting off initially, not that I know of anyway.
Okay, John, you got anything you want to say?
No.
Okay. Not a problem. All right, so basically these are the guys at Otter Creek Labs, and like I said, tonight's topic is going to be 556, and I want to basically start off by something that isn't what I think most people are currently associating you with, which is the Polonium. I want to talk first why you started with the OCM 5 as your first 556 can, and then pivot to the Polonium from there.
Just because I really wanted one. I'm a big clone guy. I've had a Mark 12 clone rifle since before my daughter was born. So like 6 years or so. That was actually one of the first rifles that I built. So I've always been a big Mark 12 clone guy, and of course I have one of the original cans for it, and I've always thought there was like a little bit of room for improvement on one, and so I really wanted one just for myself mainly. And then the production struggles of AE started, and you couldn't get one. Like you just straight up couldn't get one, and they were going for like I think I saw them going for almost $2,000 on Gunbroker and just crazy stuff like that. And I just don't like stuff like that. Like, if somebody wants to build a clone rifle, I don't think they should have to win a can for $2,000 on Gunbroker. So it was kind of like two reasons at once, because I wanted one and because you just couldn't get them. And so we started in on that, and thought it was it was great at the right time. That's definitely how we got our initial notoriety, I guess, like how a lot of people heard of us initially. Like other Andrew says, is what brought us to the dance. So yeah, been really
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate. I would say that while you had your PRS series of cans, I would say your OCM5 came out the gate, I mean, swinging. I know I personally was very surprised at how much of a market there was
me
for
too.
that particular can.
Yeah, I'd see. I didn't predict that. Like when me and John were making it, I was thinking, we might sell like 100 of them, 200 of them, something like that. I didn't expect it to be anywhere near like it was. That definitely caught us off guard. We weren't ready for that. We weren't prepared for the kind of production demand that OCM5 brought us.
And before we switch over to, like, Polonium stuff, what do you think the OCM5 brings that the original AIM can does not maybe have? Like, what have you improved and things of that nature?
The biggest thing is the weight. Um, it's like 25% lighter, 20 to 25% lighter, something like that. Um, which when you're holding it in your hand doesn't feel like a big difference. Like it's not a huge difference. But when you consider the Mark 12s an 18-inch long barrel, once you hang it off the end of a gun, it makes a huge difference in just the way the gun handles and feels and balances. Um, we were able to decrease back pressure, at least as far as we can feel, kind of subjectively, a little bit. Sound wise, we beat it by like 1 decibel at the shooter's ear, and 1 decibel at the muzzle or something like that on the pulse, which as you know is basically nothing. You can't hear that difference. Although technically it is a decibel quieter, it doesn't really matter. The biggest thing is the weight, and then in the testing and in testing other done in uh, third party reviews of and stuff, it has a little bit less point of impact shift. The weight, it's affecting the harmonics differently from where it's lighter.
I would also say that you've greatly improved the way it mounts to the firearm as well.
Well, yeah, with our mount series, OTB mount series, that's been a big help too. I think that's really why we sold so many, or a big part of the reason. Because 2 years ago, the AEM5 or OCM5 was a clone can only. It was only on Mark 12s or Gordon rifles, and you just couldn't mount them on anything else. But with like our OTBs and midways and PTBs, you can now run one on anything. And you're seeing them on AKs, AUG, scars, and seeing them all on all kinds of crazy stuff that you just didn't see a couple years ago. So that's been really cool.
I don't think that we probably should talk about the OCM5 anymore. I think we pretty much got it about covered. So this pivots to what I think is kind of our main topic tonight. And the first thing I have written down were I wanted to really go into some of the background on what goes into even just making a can, because a lot of people will see a can come out, I think, and they'll wonder like what the thought process was, or why did they choose this many baffles or this length or whatever. And I think some of the answers to those questions might be surprising to people. So basically, I want to start off with saying, like, when you decided to make the Polonium as your next 5.56 can, did you sit down, set any goals? Like, what was the thought process there?
I mean, I'll be honest, we gamed it a little bit. I mean, we had a surefire RC2, and we knew that we wanted to beat that, and so we developed a pretty good I don't think we really have a name for it. It's almost like a universal baffle. So like our lithium, our hydrogen, and our polonium all use the same baffle. It's just a different bore on each can and different material depending on the
As
can.
well as the clip size and things of
Yeah,
that nature.
um, yeah, but really small differences like that, But it's basically the same as far as everybody's concerned. Um, and we went with that because we focused most of our efforts on finding a baffle that did really well on all calibers. whether it was 308 or 65 Creedmoor or 300 Blackout, 556. We kind of found a middle of the road baffle that really well everything. And then for Polonium, we just started stacking them on there until we beat the Surefire pretty much. And that's why we arrived at the size we did it for our full size Polonium.
Okay. How did you go about even choosing that particular baffle?
Oh, I don't know how many baffles we tested, John. I mean, between early PR development and initial OCM5 development and Polonium, I mean, we have like a 5-gallon bucket full of different baffles. I mean, we've tried hundreds of different baffles, metering on different calibers and stuff like that. And we found, the baffle we currently use, which is like that pocketed double angle with a third angle pocket. We found that it just worked good on everything. It didn't matter what you put it on, didn't matter what caliber it was. It just seemed to do pretty well on everything.
I'm gonna pull up a photo here of what we're talking about for everybody. You posted actually a cutaway today. It was very fortuitous timing of the Polonium, and I was like, man, like we better save that for people can have something to reference here. So give me a second. We'll pull that up. All right. Why is it not? Well, in the meantime, while I screw with getting this thing to come up, my next question was going to be, why did you settle on the diameter of can that you settled on?
Because John's a pussy and doesn't want to do 175.
Well, I mean, what about 1.5? A lot of 5.56 cans are 1.5. So, I mean, that's why I'm asking the question.
I like it. It's like a good between point, like 1.5 just seems like it's a little bit too small, and 1.75, I personally am not a huge fan of 1.75 cans. They just feel a little bit too big. So I like that 1.65 diameter, and it gives you the ability. I mean, even though running cans under handguards is pretty gay, but it'll
That's wrong.
John, you like cans in their handguards?
Yes. It's the
Yeah.
only way to run cans.
I don't know, man. I'm with kind of Andrew on this one. I don't like cans under handguards. I get it if you want a longer handguard for the extra, like, putting your left hand further out away from your body, or if you need the real estate for attachments and stuff. But you do trade off heat. First off, heat transference from the can to the handguard. I mean, that's always been a big one for me.
I mean, I have a full auto I run a Gemtech Patrolman on because a Polonium doesn't fit under it, and I don't get any heat problems, but I've never noticed heat be a problem.
So before we go forward, guys, here's the Polonium. It's cut away. It's missing the blast chamber section. There's another section that will attach this to finish the blast chamber. So that bottom part there at the bottom of the screen, that's going to be your reverse blast baffle. We'll talk about that a little bit. And then you've got your primary set of baffles. So I don't know what Andrew calls this shape. I call it just a dual angle pocket cone, which you see the two angles, and then you got the pocket there on the side, uh, and then you see the kind of wider outer diameter, which I think the wider outer diameter for these really does help these quite a bit.
Yeah.
So it's interesting you landed on that as well.
Yeah, it helps. And we got that thick boy first baffle. Because something we didn't really anticipate initially until we started really doing some like high abuse testing is so that reverse baffle, it pretty much turns your gas into like a plasma jet stream, if that makes sense. Like it's doing that reverse first baffle makes the stress on your second baffle exponentially more. And so we had the problem when we would, I mean, it was like a lot of rounds still. It was like, I think we did 3 D60s back to back in full auto on a 10-3 barrel. and it caved that second baffle in. It just caused the second baffle to collapse because the first baffle was putting so much strain on it. So we thickened it up quite a bit, and I have not yet been able to cave it in.
Yeah, that reverse baffle is something. It really does seem to hold up really well. Have you seen it get like so it holds up really well, but from a let's say a sound performance, did it degrade sound performance versus regular baffle, or did you see anything like that at all?
I did not see that. I didn't see a downgrade in sound performance. I noticed it did help just subjectively because I mean we don't really have a way to scientifically measure it. It helped the blowback you feel in the face. Um, a regular baffle versus that reverse baffle, just being the initial baffle, helped the amount of gas you feel to your face. Um, and the only thing I can think of that kind of makes a little bit of sense to me as to why that would be is it's funneling that gas through at a faster rate into that second bigger chamber. And then because it's a reverse shape, it's kind of preventing that gas to an extent slipping back through the bore.
Coming back through.
Yeah, it does help with that.
I think it'd be cool to see more people utilize that. I don't know if people will, just because I don't know that they necessarily. A lot of people like to try to do things that no one else is doing. But if there was one thing people would copy, I would think the reverse baffles probably a smart way to do it. I would argue it's much better than a diffusion wall, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but the reverse baffle, I mean, we weren't the first people to do it
Sure.
by either. It has a long history. If you actually look at one of the first suppressor patents, can't remember if it's from like 1909 or 1919 or something like that. It's from over 100 years ago. There's a reverse baffle, blast baffle in that. And then fast forward to Vietnam era, a company called Human Engineering Labs, which is a suppressor company that a lot of people have probably never heard of. There's a L for short, but they were making suppressors for like a lot of the special forces, M16s and stuff over in Vietnam when that conflict was going on, and they used a reverse baffle in that as well. And, then some of the original SWR and silencer cans used it, and then I know CGS is currently using something like that, and so is B&T in their Rotex can. So there's actually quite a few people using it. It does work really well, but it's harder to machine for sure. John hates machining it.
John, any comments on that?
Yeah, I mean, it works well, and it definitely, I'll say, hides erosion. But I am not subscribed to the theoretical physics that Andrew is on the superb quality of it over a regular baffle. It's hard to make a standard, as with anything, and you know this too, you can't test two baffle designs exactly against each other. There's almost no way to do it unless you change unimportant things. Because if you take a double angle, if you take this reverse baffle and you just replace it with a regular baffle, you've changed the length variables. You've changed, it depends on where you're measuring the face of that reverse baffle. Do you measure the face of the reverse baffle from the funnel, like the inside part of it that's now farther away from the muzzle? Do you measure it from where the reverse part starts? If you bring up the picture again, I can show you what I'm talking about. But there's just too many variables that you can't do a one-to-one comparison almost. And for that reason, it's just, I mean, I think it works well. There's no denying that it works well. I mean, being number one on Pew Science is pretty easy to look at, but I like it. It is a pain in the butt to machine because it's got a deep pocket and it requires two ops, but yeah, it's good. I like it.
Sure. I mean, I think what the probably the biggest benefit of it is you can get away with materials like 17.4 in a harder use situation than you could without it. Would you agree with that, Andrew? Where normally you would have to go to Stellite
I
or
wish,
Inconel or something of that nature to get the same kind of use case out of your blast baffle.
yeah, I wish I would have sent you. I wish I pull up pictures, and I would have sent you some pictures you could pull up. But we did some tests with some different materials. We did the 17.4 reverse baffle, and then we did a standard pointed baffle, Inconel. And going through the same firing schedule, the 17.4 reverse baffle still had less erosion than the pointed Inconel baffle. So it is a way to get the same durability with a cheaper material, but then you kind of lose some of that on the back end because it's a lot harder to machine, like John said. But overall, you still end up with a cost savings. Right now, we're working on an Inconel can that will also have the reverse baffle and Inconel. And combining those two things together, I think it would just be impossible to break.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think we'll probably pretty much put that one to bed. Before we move on, I do want to try to get to some of your guys' questions. I have not forgotten about you guys in the comment section. So why don't I do this? And some of it does pertain to what we've been talking about, but I'm just going to start kind of oldest to newest. This is a little off topic, but when is OCL going to make a 17.4 30 cal to compete with the Nomad series? I would think you already do, but
Well, we have the hydrogen. It's not 17.4 though.
oh, that's right. It's only in a tie model.
Actually, we don't plan on making a 17.4 30 cal can as of right now. We're going to go straight to Inconel on the 30 cal can, which is what we're working on right now. Maybe in the future, but for the 30 cal can, we're using Inconel on it, specifically because of just people, consumers. So even though we've tested it, and like we were talking about with the reverse blast baffle in 17.4, still outperforming Stellite and Inconel baffles that are more traditionally made. Some people look at it and say, oh, 17.4, no way that can be as good as Inconel or Stellite or whatever. Just
Sadly,
because they don't really understand the geometry behind it, how it actually works. So I'm just saying, even though I don't think it needs to be Inconel, we're gonna make it Inconel just to satisfy those kind of people who think that way.
yeah, no, that's
And you got to keep in mind too, when I see questions like that, I always think we can't make a can to compete with every other can on the market. Like we have an offering that we've created that we think is gonna cover the gambit, but we're not gonna make a single can to compete with every can that exists. You know?
I wish we could.
Yeah, I mean maybe someday, but we have to pick our battles for now on what we're gonna try to do.
Yeah,
true. You only have so much production capacity. I mean, that's any company, right?
yeah, we're pretty strapped as is.
This one apparently is for Andrew. He looks like he has a 13.7-inch 5.56, which we're going to talk more about recommended cans for different platforms, but he wants to know if he should run a full-size Polonium or a Polonium K.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
I
gonna
agree.
recommend the K 99% of the time.
We might as well talk about why that is.
So because it can do 6mm, like 6 arc, 243, 6mm Creedmoor, 6 Dasher, 6.7, all those kind of PRS 6mm cartridges. I would recommend the full size specific, and so I'm a PRS guy, so it's kind of, and I run a 6 Dasher, so this is kind of where the thought process comes in for me. Is say you have a PRS guy and he wants a good can for his 6mm competition rifle, because that's the most popular cartridge to run in PRS and F class right now is 6mm. If you go to a match, I'd say you go to a match of 100 shooters, 80 of them are running 6mm. So say you're a PRS guy and you got a 6mm and you want a can that you can run on your competition 6mm gun, and then also occasionally throw on your AR, something like that. In that situation, I'm going to recommend the full size, because the full size is going to do much better on the 6mm bolt gun. But then the full size does have higher back pressure on the ARs, comparable to like something like an RC2. For all of our testing, we had a bunch of different 5.56 cans that we tested with. As far as what you feel to your face, like gas to the face wise, it felt the same with Polonium RC2 and Turbo T2 full size gym. But with the K, you don't get any. Like there's no gas to the face with the K. So if you're one of those guys who, just the slightest amount of gas to your face inconveniences you and makes you cry, the K is going to be what you want. The full size 2 for 6 arc. So if you're only going to be running 5.56, go with the K. But if you're going to be running it on things like 6mm and 243 and 6 dasher, go with the.
All right. Do you want to answer the why the K is going to have less blowback, or would you want me to?
It just has less baffles. I mean, there's less.
Exactly.
That's what it comes down to. More baffles equals more blowback, especially when you're talking about the same.
Well, I mean, it has less suppression.
Well, yeah, that's why it has less blowback, Jonathan.
Yes, but the number of baffles is not necessarily the factor.
The number of baffles is going to change your flow rate. It's also going to change the amount of gas you're capturing and when, and therefore, depending on the host and all that stuff, you can actually have some K cans nowadays with the modern designs that we're really diving into, in some ways perform better than some shorter cans. Actually, it just kind of depends on a multitude of factors.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the K for 5.56, like all my 5.56 guns, with the exception of my PWS piston gun. I guess that would be another scenario, like if somebody only had piston guns, go with the full size. But on pretty much all my guns, but I run the K, and I know when we came out with them, we came out with the full size first, and then with the K like a few months later. So I know like a lot of people bought the full size, and so I don't want people to hear what I'm saying now and be like, oh God, I got the full size, I'm gonna fucking hate it. Like, no, you're not gonna hate it. You just might have to do a little bit more tuning to your gun that you wouldn't have to do with the K. So with the K, you don't have to do any tuning. You just take your AR and you throw it on, good to go. But with the full size, you'll need to look into some heavier buffers.
Which I think pivots us into our tuning section here. And that is, if you are going to use a Polonium.
Full size.
First off, full size Polonium.
Heavy
5.56 AR. Go ahead and talk about what you should do to your gun. Me
personally, the only thing I do is the heavy buffer system and then something like a gas buster. So either like a Veltor A5 H3 or a Geisley Super 42 H3 or the PWS H4. If I'm going to use a full size on a direct impingement gun, I'll use one of those 3 buffers, and then something like a gas buster or a Radian Raptor SD. I personally like the Radian Raptor SD the most. I've tried just about every gas reducing charging handle out there, and the Radian's my favorite one.
John, any feedback?
Yeah, I mean,
I can see you stewing over there, buddy.
No, I'm not stewing. Buffers are good and everything, but for me, like, if you're not running an adjustable gas block on your AR, whether you're suppressed or not, you're just doing it wrong, because the base gas system on an AR is overgassed, because that's the way they're intended to run for reliability, to make sure they work. So for me, I put adjustable gas blocks on everything, because they're just needed, and they're the best way to adjust stuff. Now, even with an adjustable gas block, you're going to get gas blowback, because I do, and I like throwing a charging handle in there that does a good job, or and even throwing a buffer in there can do stuff too. But I prefer not to mess with buffers, and I just get adjustable gas blocks. But that's my personal preference. I mean, they're both valid ways of
Yeah, see, me and John are kind of in different camps on that. He prefers adjustable gas blocks, and I hate adjustable gas blocks, just because a lot of the rifles that I run have gas blocks that are pre-pinned, like the Daniel Defenses and the B.A. Hansons and V7s and Oveskis. A lot of those already have pinned gas blocks, and personally, I don't feel like taking a gas block off that's already on there and doing its job and replacing it with an adjustable gas block. So, yeah, I go the buffer route. But if you want to go the adjustable gas block way, go that way. But I personally hate adjustable gas blocks.
I get your point on that. Like, if it's an already pinned gas block and it's going to be that big of a pain in the ass to change,
I would not
okay,
change-
I
would
can
not
see
change a
that. I
pin
guess.
gas block. I hate changing pin gas blocks. I would not do it.
Yeah, that I can see, but like for me personally, yeah, I'm kind of in the John camp here, where like everything should have an adjustable gas block already, and if it doesn't, I'm putting one on, and then from there, yeah, I mean, I might run like an H2, or maybe sometimes I run kind of an intermediate buffer, which is like 3 ounces, you know. But yeah, but I mean, if you can't put a gas block in something, I'm totally with you. Geisley H3, something like that for sure. Like, no matter what, you should do something, right? Like, that's what it comes down to.
Heck yeah, if you're running a regular AR, you should play with your buffers and use theoretically the heaviest one that works, because it's going to create the least amount of gas.
And I've played that a little bit on Polonium versus Polonium K. So like with the full size Polonium, I use the heavier H3s. But with the Polonium K, you'll actually get some occasional short strokes if you're running H3.
Yeah.
Just a little bit too heavy. And so like my personal gun that I shoot the most, that I'll shoot in like the two guns and the carbine matches and stuff like that. It's just a factory Daniel Defense setup, nothing special, with just a regular H2 buffer. With the Polonium K, you really don't have to do much if your gun. But with the full size, you'll need to do a little bit.
So to kind of sum all this up, I think we can probably all agree on, if you're gonna run a Polonium K, run an H2. If you're gonna run a full size Polonium, either get an adjustable gas block, or I mean adjustable gas blocks for both, but you're probably looking at least an H3 on a full size Polonium in most cases. Or if you are going to be H2, you're going to be adjustable gas block camp.
Or the BRT tubes. Have you seen the BRT tubes?
I don't think so. Oh, are those the ones that restrict the gas flow?
Yeah.
That what... Okay, yeah, I've seen them.
The same as an adjustable gas block, but it's a gas tube instead of a gas block, and makes things way easier. So how an adjustable gas block works is, you're just adjusting the hole size, the port size that gas goes through. The BRT gas tubes have different port sizes in the gas tubes, so you can change it that way.
With the latest success of the Huxworks 556K, which this is fortuitous, being we were just talking about this today, do you guys think 3D printing is the future of suppressor development? I want to start with, before you answer this question, let's start with what do you think about the Huxworks 556K? Let's start with that.
I haven't got to personally shoot one yet.
Oh, really?
I can't really say. I haven't got to shoot one, but I want to.
John, have you?
No. I hate
No.
Yeah, kick it to John for the 3D printing question. He's going to get really triggered.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
that's what we want. Let's get those views up, buddy. Give us some views.
I thought you were talking about the flow-through aspect of it. No, 3D printing it's like any new technology. It's getting there. It's not there yet. Yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's just it's expensive and it's not
Slow.
necessary. So I don't know.
Come on, John. Tell them what the limitations are.
The limitations are not in the design aspect generally. I mean, you can kind of just print whatever you want, especially if you have a laser style. I mean, there are some limitations, which we've sent a couple ideas to laser places to get done, and they come back and you got to fill in the certain edges because everything has to stack on top of each other. Versus like when you machine something, you don't have to have everything stack on top of each other. So there's like some design limitations, but at the same time, you can do more advanced or different designs that are capable with machining. But I mean, you need infinitely more hardware. I mean, we can machine a full suppressor and weld it with 2 machines. I mean, as far as I know, to get into an industrial size 3D printer, we can do a whole suppressor with $100,000 in machines, brand new. To get into a 3D printing a suppressor, as far as I know, you need over $500,000, if that. And I don't even know everything that's involved with it. But yeah, it's just it's a new technology. Couple years. I mean, CNC machining has only been around since like the 80s. Machining's been around since, is it 18?
Bro, I think that fucking Egyptians had some crude ways of
Yeah, but I mean,
machining wood,
like,
but like
as we know it today, even like a
Industrial Revolution.
Yeah. I mean, it's only 120, 150 years old. So 3D printing's probably, at least metal 3D printing is less than 20. I don't know. Maybe I probably shouldn't say because I don't know. But it's a new technology. Give it another 50 years, it'll be as commonplace as machining, probably, I'm sure.
Here's what I would say. I would say one of the biggest problems after the fact that the machines are inherently expensive, they use a lot of gas, is that your table size is only so big. You can only print so many cans at once, and they still take a long time to print. I mean, some of the numbers I've seen has been 100 hours to print one can, and a table size of anywhere from 10 to 20.
Yeah. Me and Darren looked at that too. It was like, because we were thinking about going in on one together and splitting it 50-50 or something. And I mean, like it would take like a week to print like 20 cans or something. Meanwhile, we can machine and weld 20 cans a day. What it is, so it's
Yeah.
much slower.
So then you need 20 machines to get to those numbers. So that's, I mean, for those who don't know watching right now, most of the places that are 3D printing cans aren't doing it in house. They're having a company that has a lot of machines do it.
Yeah,
Nothing wrong with that at all. It's just not cheap, is the point.
there's only like
Or fast.
3 or 4 places in the U.S. that print cans, and they're printing everybody's cans. But production speed is one of the biggest limiting factors right now. That's why like a lot of the cans that you see getting military contracts and like super high production are still stamped baffles. Like the ops, the AE, the Surefire, those are all stamped baffles, and just even I guess they've determined in that scenario, even machining isn't fast enough to keep up with the production demands they need. They turn to stamping. So it's a big part of production speed.
Bro, I never even thought about that. Like, let's say the military puts in a 100,000 can order. Like, how do you print 100,000 cans?
Take you 5 or 6 years, but
Yeah, that's nuts.
You could stamp
Mind
them.
blown. Crazy. One last thing before we go off the 3D printing subject is I think the other limiting factor is, of course, warranty. I mean, it's very hard to fix a 3D printed can. I mean, look at Huxworks. They're not even warranting their cans because of that, because it's not an easy solution.
Yeah. And then so I know when CGS first came out with the Helios QD, the rear of the suppressor had like a had almost like kind of like a thread-on ring, like the energetic armament ring, but it wasn't that. The actual mounting threads had the engraving on it, and they were pressing that on and welding it. But the even the new production CDS Helios is like, so I have a Helios from when like they first came out, and then I have a Helios that I bought just like last week, and the new production Helios doesn't even have that ring on there, so it would go right back to the Huxworks problem. The energetic armament ring would fix all of that. I mean, we've made a deal with Energetic recently to where we're going to be able to start using their ring. These new cans we're working on, and I think 3D printing would really benefit from something like that. But this is kind of like an ego thing. Like,
Sure.
if you're gonna use another company's patent and license it from them, you're basically admitting that they had a really good idea. And it seems like a lot of these companies don't want to ever admit something like that. Whereas I have no problem. Like, hey, that's an awesome idea. I wish I would have thought of it. Can we pay you to use it? It's that easy.
All right. Thank you, Monocore Waffles. I appreciate the love. Let's see here. All right, here we go. Have you done any flash testing with the Polonium? I know you have, but you might as well talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, there's not really a whole lot to talk about. We did flash testing with it, and it's good.
Well, that was to the point, buddy.
If you go to the Otter Creek Labs Instagram page and you go back to February, like towards the beginning of February, we posted the Polonium, a flash test comparison of the Polonium versus, I think it was like maybe 6, 7 other cans or something like that. That's still up. You can go find it in a post from February.
You are hilarious sometimes. Everyone gets some laughter for Andrew. Sorry, I had to try one of my buttons. It's just, they're sitting here flashing at me like, touch me, push me.
We'll let that one slide.
All right. Next question here. Let's see. So he's got a 10.5 BRN 180, and he's asking which can. You're already going to say Polonium K, so I guess we can move on from there.
Okay. Anything 556. If it's 556 use only, I'm gonna likely recommend the K.
Here we go. Black Friday deals. Are you doing any Black Friday deals?
Yeah, probably on not on anything like super interesting. Like on all of our muzzle devices and different accessories, mounts, and stuff like that. We'll do a big Black Friday thing on those, on what we have in stock. Because a lot of people realize this until you get into business. You know, the government likes to tax you to death at every chance they get. There's for businesses, there's something called an inventory tax, which is why you see a lot of people do big Black Friday sales and Christmas sales and stuff like that. So that means, so say we get to the end of the year and we have 500 muzzle devices sitting on the shelf, we're going to get taxed for those 500 muzzle devices sitting on the shelf in some way. So we've got quite a few things, and I'm going to try and blow them all out on Black Friday and Christmas.
Mrs. Reardon Manufacturing says hi, everybody.
Hi, Darren's wife.
All right, here's a really good one. Who's better at Modern Warfare 2?
John.
Well, he's got more time on his hands.
That's true. It's easy when those machines themselves. You just push a button and the machine just makes the part.
It just makes the parts, man. It does it all on its own. It's totally automated.
This happens by magic.
And I'm having to weld and package and do paperwork all day, and John's just hitting the go button over and over again. Now we were playing a little bit of Modern Warfare 2 earlier when we got done with work, and he was using a pistol and I was using a rifle, and he fucking smoked me still.
We might start all playing Modern Warfare together, guys. So you guys in the comments section, maybe we start like a massive fucking Form One or clan or something. I'm gonna skip Ryan's stupid questions like who's gonna win at arm wrestling. We already know.
No,
it's
that's a
Andrew.
good one. Andrew's gonna win at that one. I guarantee
Well,
you.
like I said, we already know. I mean, look at those hunky arms he's got.
I don't take steroids anymore.
Yeah,
I'm weak.
past tense.
Yeah.
All right. Here's a question for you. I don't know if you're gonna want to answer it, but why does CGS hate you guys?
Well, I don't
Might as
know.
well tell the stories here.
I don't know would be the baseline for that. So a little bit of history. Before I started Otter Creek Labs, I was just kind of one of these retarded influencers, content pages, beam pages, whatever. And me and the TGS guys were really cool. We were all really good friends, and they sent me like free stuff to make content with and plug on the page and stuff like that. Kind of help advertise for them a little bit whenever they were like a new company. So I got like 3 cans from them for free, and we were really good friends, and I talked to them all the time. Then, like when I made Otter Creek, started getting a little bit, and kind of I can understand that. And then I did the flash testing video that I was referencing earlier from February with a bunch of fans. Had the Helios QD in that lineup. Did awful. I guess that made them mad, and I guess they felt targeted by that, even though I wasn't trying to target anybody. I just took every single 5.56 can I had on hand and lined them up, and even Stevens compared them, and they got really mad over that, and they've been mad ever since. But I still like them. Like I've made multiple attempts to be cordial and nice and stuff like that. They just showed no interest in it, which is fine. But as far as like beef on my side, there is none. I would much rather be their friends because I have a lot of respect for them. I look up to them. I think they're making some of the best stuff out there. So I mean, and I think they're good guys. I don't have anything negative to say on that front. Besides that, I think they're a little too sensitive.
And I think that's the Form 4 community as a whole. I mean, the more feedback I get lately, it's like no one seems to be able to like kind of take a joke or I don't know. The Form 1 community, we just had such a more like, haha, let's screw with each other, fuck with each other type, you know, relationship with the companies and the customers alike. And the Form 4 world is just a little bit more, I guess, professional, if you want to say it. And anytime you kind of do anything that is at all non, like, a meme or whatever, it gets taken so freaking seriously. It's crazy.
I think people just take themselves too seriously. Like if people saw in mine and Tyler's stories earlier, me and Tyler were going at it, telling each other that our shit sucked and we were poor and going at it, and people don't realize that I love Tyler and he's one of my good friends, but we can talk to each other that way, and it's not a big deal. But then you say something just slightly, even jokingly, to some of these other companies, and they just get so upset. I think people just take themselves too seriously, and they really they overplay the seriousness of this. Like I don't know, it's just stupid.
Yeah, the other thing this week actually that I saw was like a few people actually were saying, like, like so say someone posts some of your stuff and uses, like here's a polonium and look at this other person's can and this other person's can is shit. Like another thing I'm seeing is like you had not like you might have nothing to do with that post, but because your product is the product someone likes, then therefore people also don't like you. If that
Yes,
makes sense. Like
I think
Like
a big
somehow you're targeting people, but you're not.
Yeah, like all the memes that happened with when the Polonium Q science data came out, like there was that huge, crazy meme day, and I legitimately had nothing to do with that. I think I made one or two memes, but that I posted on my page, but I was not targeting any or not targeting or directing anything. And then so when the Polonium K data came out, I mean, I specifically messaged like quite a few meme pages and quite a few people, and I'm like, hey, can we please not do that again? Like, pretty please. Like, I know it's all in good fun, but people hate me over it, even though I didn't do anything. And then a couple of them did it anyway, even though I didn't want to. But
Yeah.
it's what it is.
Yeah, unfortunately, the Form 4 world it's a lot of behind the scenes that the average customer isn't going to see. But I mean, there's a lot of just upset feelings sometimes, unfortunately. But moving on, I think we about put that one to bed. Hopefully. Let's see. Where did we leave off on questions? If I come down there and beg on my hands and knees, will you give me a great deal on a polonium?
Yeah, I love taking cash for suppressors so I can skirt the IRS.
We'll try to edit that out for you. Assuming flash would be less on a Polonium K versus the full size, resulting from less back pressure. I don't think that's how that works, but
It is. Yeah.
K
No, well, I mean, the opposite way.
exactly.
Work the opposite way is what I should say. The K is going to have a little bit more flash.
Yes. So more time for combustion in a longer can.
Especially on short barrels. Like on longer barrels, like 12.5, 14.5, 16, there's not going to be like hardly any difference between the K and the full size. But on the shorter, like 11.5, 10.5, 10.3 barrels, there's going to be a difference. And a lot of that is secondary powder burn. So like some people realize it, some people don't, but those short barrels, say like a 10.3, for example, all that powder is not burnt up when it leaves the barrel because it's so short. Well, when you're running a suppressor, that powder then goes into the suppressor and reignites. So it's like a secondary combustion. And so K cans on short barrels, you will get more flash because it's not hiding that secondary combustion like you would with a large can or with a longer barrel.
Sure. All comes down to combustion. Shit has to burn at some point. Drew here is asking if we would expand on our thoughts on flow through cans like the SIG and the Hux Works, and then adds a caveat to that with the testing that Pew Science has on the Hux 556K fluff. I'm not sure if that's for you or me, but you start, if anything.
Let me read the question.
It's a long one.
I don't know what to say about it that we haven't already said. I don't know. I'm kind of blanket on that one. I mean, obviously, do they do great? You can do some cool stuff that you can't do with machining. I mean, I don't know what to say besides that.
I would add to it that coax stuff is getting tougher every day because there's so much stuff patented in it, and there are a bunch of eyes on who's doing what, and you got to try to, you know, come up with designs that it annoys me personally because I mean, people have been doing all sorts of coax stuff literally since the early 1900s. So I think patents are fucking stupid at this point. But yeah, which can segue into the next person's exact question, which is any plans for a coax or a flow style can?
I tested one the other day and it sounded like dog shit. It just is sometimes it be like that, I guess. Because we're messing around with like I said, the 30 cal Inconel can right now, and a focus of it is going to be flow rate, low back, and so we've been testing some initial designs with it, and one of the coax designs that we tested the other day was just awesome. This sounds like something Griffin or Silencer Co. would just release to the public.
Yeah. That's actually a topic I have written down, but I think we're going to skip it for now. Because I was going to say that, a lot of people associate just like the word coax and like that it means that it's a better can than literally everything. And it's not that simple. Coax is just a very general term, meaning there's a space, co-located to the bore. It's all in how you do it, and there's lots of different ways to do it, and it's not as simple as everyone thinks.
I heard that Joe Gotti invented the coaxial can.
I've heard similar, sir. Nah, we're just talking shit, guys. Joe did, patent the Omega baffle, but coaxial tech, I actually could send you guys a white paper on it. It's literally the first, I think, can that was patented that used any sort of coaxial features was in the late 1800s. So it goes back a long ways.
I'm aware of one from World War II.
I can show. I mean,
Mid,
I have it here on my phone.
Late 30s, 19. It's similar to like a lot of the coaxial stuff you see today.
Coaxial suppressors. All right, here you go. This is courtesy of a friend who is the owner of X2 Dev Crew, and we talk kind of a lot. Anyway, the first can that he was aware of was in the 1890s. It was made by two Norwegian dudes, one who was an admiral in the Norwegian Navy, and it was patented in 1899. And basically, I mean, it's kind of hard to probably show. I'll make my screen big here, and maybe I can get it to come up. But it was a fairly simple design. But
Yeah.
there you go. I mean, it's
With
two chambers located next to each other.
the GSL Phoenix.
Coaxial.
Built like a GSL Phoenix.
Yeah, sort of similar to that. You're right.
That's
And I lost my mouse there.
I've always admired about people like the X2 Dev Grip guy and from CGS. Really admired their knowledge of suppressor history that I don't really have.
Me either. I mean, I have some, but not nearly what they got.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know a little bit, but yeah, not like that.
It's fascinating, and it's one of the things. The more like I talk with those kinds of dudes, and they show me things and stuff, and it's just like, man, someone has come up with so many ideas that are so old. And I think what really what we're doing now is we're taking some of these older ideas, but we're packaging them in a better way with better shapes and a better understanding, and that's how we're able to do better things with them. You know,
Hmm.
At least that's my opinion. I don't know. Someone was happy with their flow can. They're all right, right? I mean,
Yeah, it's a good can.
all right. Thoughts on the new Advanced Armament Company cans? Think it will ever be like it was when Kevin was around?
They're really nice guys. I've got to talk. Actually, the new owner, the dude running it, I've got his number, and I've texted with him and talked to him some. He's a super nice dude. Very enthusiastic. They're doing a lot of it in house. I like the direction that they're taking it and what they're doing with some of the stuff, and I traded them a OCM5 for one of their cans. Yeah, I think it's going to be really good. I'm very excited and hopeful for the future of AAC. I think that's going to be cool.
I've yet to talk to those guys, but you're not the first person who's told me they seem pretty cool, so that's good. More the merrier. We need more dudes who are, cool. Basically, we'll see what they come up with. I know it seems like they're bringing back a lot of kind of their traditional designs, but with a more modern look to them and more modern accessories and things of that nature. At least from what I can tell.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's cool.
Hardware Texas, you might have missed the beginning of the live, but we kind of talked about this a little bit. But he says, if the Polonium had more baffles, would it benefit? I'm thinking from suppression.
Not really. I mean, yes, at the expense of back pressure. The more baffles you add, the higher back pressure is going to be, and the full size already has enough back pressure. You really don't want to add more. Um, but there gets to be a point of diminishing returns. Suppressors are a gas trap. Essentially, is what you're doing with it, and there's only so much gas you can trap. So, say from going from 5 baffles, you might cut off 4 decibels. But then going from 5 baffles to 7 baffles, you might only cut off 1 or 2 decibels. So there's a point of diminishing returns there where it gets to not be worth it, to where you get to a certain point, you could have a can that's 9 feet long, and it's gonna sound the same as a 7 or 8 inch long can.
Which Energetic just did a video on. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I missed that. Well, give us the clip
I
notes.
didn't watch the whole thing, but I just saw them with the ridiculously long, like 3-foot suppressor on the end of something, and I mean, it was a joke because you can do it and it's quieter, but it's not like suddenly they were walking around with a pellet gun or something,
Yeah, you can't get rid of that supersonic crack. The supersonic crack's gonna get you no matter what.
I'm finding that on semi-automatics or fully automatics, there's absolutely a max point where you start going in the other direction. You start making so much back pressure that you end up opening the bolt sooner, and it ends up being louder for the
Yeah,
shooter a lot of times.
I can see.
So, especially like that 11-inch can series I did. I mean, if you need more proof, there it is. And then I just did all this carbine testing, which I just published the research paper today for my members. And you go watch that. And I mean, you can look what the 9 baffle can did, what the 10 baffle can did, what the 11 baffle can did, what the 12 baffle can did, and you can put them in the order of it should be kind of self-explanatory. So, and it's not what you would normally think. So, but anyway, moving on. Do you feel the next major development in cans will come from a new design slash find in raw material or from a development process like 3D printing? I guess he's probably asking, what's the next big breakthrough in suppressor design?
I don't know. I mean, with supersonic specifically, like we were just talking about, you can only get so quiet, right? Like,
Yeah.
like there's a point where it's physically impossible to get any quieter, and I believe like the Hyperion and Nomad L and the Diligent Defense Company and Tasser L and the Hydrogen L, they're all right there in that range already. So I think now the thing is going to be, so let's say like the Hyperion, if you were to make the Hyperion a foot longer, it's already in that area where it's not going to get any quieter. So because it's so quiet already, it's as quiet as you can make a can. So I think next we're going to start seeing things like what Liberty did with the Anthem S, and we're going to start seeing how small you can make a can while reaching that ceiling of supersonic
That's
crack.
what I think too.
So the Hyperion, Nomad L, and Tyster L, Hydrogen L, they're all long cans. They're big cans. But now I think it's gonna be how small and short can you and still reach that supersonic crack ceiling. I think that's the direction it's gonna get.
And that's one of my favorite things. It's like when I recommend the Enticer L, a lot of times to people, there are people already looking for a full size can, and it's like, well, why would you buy Hyperion, which is larger OD and longer, when you can buy like Enticer L, which is gonna be shorter, a little bit skinnier, just
Oh,
as quiet for
I think the Nomad L and the Enticer L are better suppressors than the Hyperion, and
and
it's,
more versatile.
yeah, and that's why. I mean, they're accomplishing the same thing, but smaller and more versatile and lighter. Um, but I
And
mean,
cheaper.
and cheaper. Um, but I mean, the Hyperion's still king of quiet. It's still number
Sure.
one. It's still number one in 308. It's still king of quiet. But there's more to suppressors than just being quiet. I think for an all around well rounded can, you'd be better off with some of those other options.
Yeah. And I want to make sure. I mean, when we talk this way to everyone, like we're not trying to take anything away from anyone's can or the Hyperion or like it's a really cool design. They're doing amazing things. Um, but when you really start to dig into stuff, you got to make an educated decision sometimes, and it's not always the one company might like.
Yeah, I mean, and that's just part of everybody being sensitive, like we were
Yeah.
talking, like I said that, but I have a Hyperion. I like the Hyperion, but you can still make valid criticisms of something and still like that product and like those people, but people have a hard time differentiating that sometimes. Ask John something. I got to go get something real quick. I need John to talk more.
All right, John, you're on the big screen here. Have you shot the RSP yet, John?
No, I didn't take it with me. I went out Saturday and I had a box full of like 20 suppressors, and I did not throw the RSP and the RS9 in there. But I wanted to. And the reason I'm waiting is because I'm waiting for our mounting system so I can quick detach stuff between my pistols so I can quickly tell like a difference. And I don't have to be screwing stuff on and off. But I'm going to do a giant comparison between stuff once we finish our mounting system.
Well, make sure you shoot it with its current mounting system before you do that, because part of the magic is Tyler's piston in there. So,
Okay. All right.
It's pretty important.
I'll just buy 2 of my favorite gun and do that.
Well, then, since you haven't shot it, I'll save this question for Andrew and pivot to something else for you. So let's see here. Any products from any other companies that you are excited to see coming out? You're not as on top of this kind of stuff though either.
I'm not. I don't really. I see stuff that's cool on Instagram or Facebook, and I like it. But that's pretty much it. I've been really into piston systems recently, so
How is your mounting system coming along?
it's going good. We are going to hopefully be making the prototype in about 2 weeks. An updated prototype. We've already got one, but we added some sealing to it, and
Do you want to take this opportunity to tell people what it is?
I could, but I feel like everybody's already knows what it is.
Well,
It's just universal.
not everyone on this is probably the same people that were maybe around when you had originally published it. I don't know.
It's just a universal mounting system that can go on pistols and rifles without care on what the bullet is, what size bullet it is. You're only limited by the threads that are available to you on your suppressor and on your muzzle, pretty much.
Andrew,
Yes.
you're back. You've shot the RSP enough, right?
I haven't shot it a ton. I did some initial metering for Tyler. On your-
Well, the question is lithium or RSP for pistol use.
I don't know. Actually, oh, the RSP. No, I haven't shot the RSP at all. I've shot the RS9. No, I haven't got to shoot the RSP at all. Um, I don't know. I mean, do you want to only be dedicated to a pistol, or do you want to be something that can comfortably swap between like PCCs, SMGs, and pistols? If you were going to do pistol only, I would probably say RSP because it's made specifically for pistols, whereas the lithium is not. The lithium made more for the PCCs and SMGs and 9mm carbines, but it can do pistol. So it's not really what it's designed for, but it can do it. For a dedicated pistol can, I'd say RSP.
Well, I would say RSP as well. And then, I mean, you can use the RSP on a carbine. You would just pull the piston out and you would use like a Reardon Atlas alpha mount or a Kaw Valley 3-lug mount or anything alpha threaded for direct thread. You're just going to be, I mean, I know Tyler's put a lot of full auto fire through it and had no problems, but I think your lithium. I'm very excited for your lithium results when those come out.
I'm happy with them. I like the lithium a lot. That's one of those things that we just kind of made because we wanted it. I don't care if we sell 100 of them or 1,000 of them. We made it the way we wanted it for us. Because of course I like it because I designed it to be, usually one thing we have to always remember, and that we massively failed on with the PR series, is we're not making what we like. We have to make what people want to buy. And so with the PR series, I made that mistake. I made what I wanted, and didn't really stop to think about not everybody wants what I want. So when we pivoted to things like the polonium and the OCM5 and the hydrogen, those were made in mind with what do other people want to buy. And then we built up enough money to pretty much have fuck you money. And with the lithium, I just said, all right, I'm going to build this the way I want to build it. And I don't care if anybody buys it or not. So that's kind of where we were coming from with the lithium.
Being successful allows you to do that. That's for sure. I don't know. I think you hit a home run with the lithium from what I've been able to see so far from feedback from you and all of that. I think it's a good addition to, especially I think the smaller carbine can market. It probably is going to be the best in that market, I would think.
Yeah, I haven't even checked on sales on that. I need to. But like with poloniums and hydrogens, I'm constantly worried about it and contacting dealers and be like, hey, how are they selling? How are they selling? How many did you sell this week? You think you have enough? Do you need more? How many did you sell? I'm constantly like bugging dealers with that on polonium and hydrogen sales, but I haven't even checked on it on the lithium just because I don't care. I don't care how many they sell. I want one, so we made one.
That's funny. John, this one's for you actually. So let's put you on the big screen here. And do you know anything about using Thermax, like its comparisons to Inconel? I seen BNT uses it in their Rotex X series of can. Thermax. I don't know if I've heard of Thermax.
I don't know anything about Thermax other than DuPont's. That's like I thought that was like a house outside insulating material or something.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm not familiar with a solid form of Thermax.
Yeah, I'm googling it right now because it doesn't ring any bells to me at all.
I believe it's
like I see a 3D printing filament.
I believe it's ceramic.
Thermax.
Or close to a ceramic.
It's a heat treating process, is what I'm saying.
Like a ceramic coating or something like that.
Thermax offers the widest range of ferrous metal heat treating processes available in the Western world. yada yada yada. So I have a feeling BNT isn't making something out of a different metal. I think it's just they're heat treating whatever that metal is in a different way or something, and then using it as marketing material is what I'd assume. But that's just totally an assumption. And then DuPont, it looks like, makes some sort of material board. So yeah, I guess the answer is we're all too stupid to know. I don't know.
Yeah, enlighten
Yep.
us.
Yep. Don't know what Thermax is.
Sorry, buddy. We
Sounds cool,
tried.
I might
Um,
make a spring in our next suppressor out of Thermax, so I can say it's a Thermax suppressor.
and I stay pretty up on the oddball materials that come out, but that one's not the one I've heard of. I want to kind of pivot back into 5.56 stuff since that's kind of the topic of the live, but I want to broaden it because I know I've skipped over a couple of questions as well as I already had it written down, and that is, let's not just talk about your cans. Let's talk about what do you think. Let's say for a host that's AR platform 5.56, 9 inches to, I don't know, let's say 11 and a half inches. What would be the top 3 best choices right now on the market, not just from you, but from everyone, in your opinion?
5.56 cans.
Doesn't matter on bore size, but just performance on 5.56. Because we both know that you can have a great 30 cal bore 5.56 can.
Oh hell, I don't know. There's a lot of good ones, and I mean, with suppressors, we can, hype up performance of one individual product as much as another, but truthfully, they're about all the fucking same. I don't know. RC2 is a tried and true choice. Good can. Sandman S, and I don't know, that my top choices would probably be RC2, Sandman S, YHM Turbo, something like that, probably.
Mine would probably be, if we don't include your can. I don't know, man. I'm hearing, of course, and I know you're hearing the same thing. A lot of good stuff about Riley's Anthem, on things like 5.56.
Yeah,
I do think the Helios gets underrated. Um, the Diligent Defense Enticer S with a 5.56 end cap is actually doing really well in testing. Um, and then then you go back to kind of your legacy turbo, or um, obviously the Hux Flow 5.56K is got the big numbers over on the Pew Science board, though some of the feedback has been that it's a little boomy, is how I think Jay put it. But then he's not the only person I've heard say that. But regardless, I think that group of cans are all good choices.
yeah. I tell you,
In the short.
the muzzle is very, very, very boomy, a lot of concussion, and that's why I'm more worried about muzzle numbers than ear numbers most of the time. Is kind of how I explain it to people is, at ear numbers being like super super high and muzzle numbers being super super low is awesome, until is awesome as long as you're in a wide open field. If you're shooting in a big wide open field with nothing else around, a really high ear suppression rating is good, and it doesn't matter as much as the lower, because you're not getting any echo or reflection off anything. But then as soon as you step outside of a scenario that's not a wide open field, you start getting fucked up, like a shoot house, or shooting around a barricade, or around hardcover or barrels, or a hallway, or you're in the woods under a tree beside a metal building. Any scenario that's not a wide open field, if a suppressor has a very loud muzzle signature, you start getting a lot of reflection and a lot of concussion and a lot of pressure. And there's just no way to manage that.
Now let's go to the opposite end of the spectrum. Let's say it's a longer 16, 18-inch 5.56. Name a couple cans that are not your own that you think are good cans in that realm of things.
Energetic
And it might
ARX.
be the same cans.
Energetic ARX. That can, and I hesitate to say this because, like I said, we made a deal with them to use their serial ID ring. That can on any barrel shorter than 16 is fucking garbage. On a 16-inch and longer barrel though, it's good, and it's really light. So if I'm using like a 16 or longer barrel ARX, and then I'm fine with using 30 cal cans at that point. So you can go Helios or Anthem S or something like that. I'm a big fan. I know you said not including our cans, but on all my barrels, 16-inch and longer, I'm actually using the Hydrogen K 6.5. I found that to be a really, really good can for longer barrels.
Okay. I will caveat to say that I think surprising things will be coming in the next year or two as more data comes out about some of the newer 30 cal bore cans on their performance on 5.56. Uh, as the designs get better, is I guess what I'm trying to say. Like, I think they'll be able to punch higher than a lot of traditional 5.56 cans.
Yeah, that's what we're working on right now too. Like on our Inconel 30 cal can development we're doing right now. We're doing a lot of the testing and a lot of the optimizing on 5.56 because we want the 5.56 performance to be there. Because I mean, realistically, when you get a 30 cal bore, like let's say a Sandman, when you get a Sandman, you're not getting a Sandman likely because you're putting a ton of rounds of 308 through it. Or like a Scar or a bolt action or whatever. You're probably not putting a ton of 308 through it. You're getting it probably because you're mostly going to use it on your 5.56 AR, and you also want the ability to use it on 308 or 6.5 Creedmoor or whatever else. And so that's how we're kind of developing our 30 cal can right now, keeping in mind that probably 90% of its use will be on 5.56.
No, that makes a lot of sense actually, and I had not thought of it that way. And you're right. Yeah, no, for sure, that would be a pretty cool thing. And if you do manage to come up with a 30 cal can that can do great 5.56 performance, I think that'd be a good seller for sure.
Yeah, that's what we're working on. And kind of like I told John, I don't really care what the 30 cal performance ends up being. I mean, the 308 performance is just gonna be what it is. It might suck, it might be awesome, I don't know. But as far as all the sound optimization and shooter's ear numbers and muzzle numbers and stuff like that, we're doing all the testing with 5.56. So we're gonna see how far we can push 5.56 performance with the 30 cal bore, and then at the end we'll throw it on a 308 and see what it's like, and maybe it's awesome, maybe it's not, and maybe we have to adjust some things. I just don't know yet.
Yeah. Rex Silentinium cans. What's your opinion?
I've never used one.
Really?
Never have. I mean, I'm familiar with the baffle design and stuff, and but I've never shot one in person, so I can't say. But I think they look cool. I think they're well made. I think they're too thin. I think he needs to
I agree.
he needs to thicken those up. I've actually seen quite a lot. I wouldn't say a lot, but I've seen a fair number of Rex Silentium failures where the blast baffle is caved in because it was just too thin for like high rate of machine gun fire and stuff like that. And if you're gonna make a Rex can fail, that's how it's gonna fail. It's gonna cave that blast baffle in because it's just so thin. That'd be about my only critique is they need to thicken that blast baffle up, but I think they're good cans as far as I know.
I think the model is very cool, doing something very budget friendly that looks good, and that people can kind of go and customize and pick, how long they want or whatever. Like that's neat. I think that's neat. I just wish you could get a little bit more suppressor, but at the same time, you're not paying a ton either. So I mean, yeah, it's a neat can from that point of view. But any plans for a rimfire can?
Yep.
I know you're a rimfire guy.
Yep. Yeah, we're it's on the list. Um, I drive poor John crazy, but it's on the list.
It's on the list. I'm looking at the list.
Yeah, it's on the list. It's on. We're working on it. We will have one eventually. I don't really know when, but we will.
Kevin or Chris joined the chat. I don't know why I just called Chris Kevin. And he's got a doozy here. I don't know if you want to comment on it. Yeah.
That was I don't know. It's kind of a joke, kind of not. I floated the idea by Jay. I did because I don't. So I talked to Jay about it. I said, what if I want to buy? I gave him a list of like 5 different 5.56 cans made by competitors. I was like, what if I want to buy these and pay to have them tested, just so the data can be out there? And he said he'll have to think about it because he doesn't know. I mean, it's kind of like a gray area, I guess. In his mind, he says he doesn't know if he's completely comfortable with one manufacturer being able to pay for another manufacturer's suppressor to be tested. It kind of opens up a can of worms, I guess. But it's all cans that you're not going to get to see the data for otherwise because they don't like Jay and they just won't send him one. And then he likely won't use Pew Science membership money to do those tests for free. So they're cans that you probably won't get to see otherwise, but I am willing to pay for them just to be an asshole. So if you want to see that, be sure you tell Jay that you want to see that.
Well, I mean, bro, that's ridiculous because it's the silencer sound standard. It's there to help consumers figure out what cans to buy. And if you're only going to test the cans that are
That's
sent
why
to you only, I mean, that's ridiculous.
I love Jay.
I'm going to have to talk shit to him now.
No, I love Jay very much, and I love Pew
Yeah.
Science very much. But Pew Science as it exists now will never be the standard. Just because you say something's the standard doesn't make it the standard. I mean,
Sure.
you can say anything's a standard doesn't make it so. And that's just because, I mean, we can, is a Ferrari is a much better car than a Toyota Camry. I don't think anybody's going to argue that. But a Ferrari is not the standard American family sedan and the best-selling car in America. And that's just because it's out of reach to most people. And I think that's kind of how I look at. That's how I kind of look at Pew Science. Pew Science is the Ferrari, and decibel numbers and a lot of the other testing that goes on is the Camry. Clearly, the Pew Science testing is much better, but I think until it goes more mainstream and is more open sourced and can be repeated and checked by others, and there gets to be a bigger database of cans, I don't believe that it will be the standard. It's just not there yet, but I think that it has potential to get there, and I hope it does.
Yeah. And I recently talked to him about similar things as regards to getting different cans on there. It's like, bro, how is anyone supposed to really know like how good some of these cans are, especially when you don't have all the major manufacturers? Like, there's not a lot of silencer co-representation on the board. I mean, you got all these dudes who are buying Ospreys and 36Ms and hybrid 46s right now, and they have no clue what they're really buying, and
Right.
that bothers me.
Yeah.
Like, just I like to make sure consumers are very well informed when they make their choices.
Yeah, and kind of as it exists now, it's an echo chamber. You're constantly seeing CGS, Diligent Defense, Resilient, Otter Creek Labs. You're seeing us because we pay and we send them in. So it kind of almost turns into an echo chamber a little bit when there's so many suppressors out there that haven't been tested and aren't in the database, and nobody knows how they do. And until that database gets bigger and he's willing to do and publish more cans more frequently with membership money, and things like that, it just won't be there. But I hope it does get there. I mean, I think we need it. I think the community needs it, but it just isn't there now.
Yeah. And I would add to that even by saying, like, one of the reasons you might see a lot of the names you just listed on Pew Science the most right now is because those are also names that have a strong belief before they even send the can that they're going to have a very good result, I think.
Oh,
And so therefore the companies that might not think their cans are as good, I mean, those are going to be the companies less likely, I think, to send their stuff in.
oh yeah,
Because why would you highlight, you
yeah.
know,
Nobody wants to send their can in to get dicked down by
exactly.
two rednecks in a garage, but I'll pay for them to get dicked down.
Yeah. He should just do some free ones. I mean, I don't know. That I love Jay. I love what he's doing. I love a lot of what it is. But there are certain things I would absolutely do differently, unfortunately. And we have to give this feedback. The whole community has to give the feedback, because if the community doesn't give feedback, then it can never be what the community needs it to be.
I'd say that's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get off now.
All right,
Yeah,
John.
I need to get going.
And I'm done. I've got all my questions answered. We basically have all the questions in the comment section answered. And we covered all the things we had set out to try to cover, and we've kind of gone into a lot of areas we didn't set out to cover.
What time?
But
Anyway,
that happens. We can always do this again and get even more done another time. There was one person though who did say, "What's the best OCL suppressor for a 20-inch 308?" And you might want to answer that one.
hydrogen S or hydrogen L, if you don't mind the extra length of the L. I mean, obviously the L is going to be quieter. The S is still pretty damn quiet, but it's 2 inches shorter. I run the L because I don't mind the extra length, especially if it's a bolt action.
Same.
So yeah, I would say the S if you're worried about length, the L if you're not. The K, don't buy the K. It fucking sucks.
At least you're honest, and I don't think people realize just how honest our little group of people actually is.
I mean, what manufacturer is going to get on a live stream and say, "Yeah, don't buy this can that we make because it fucking sucks"? But
That's what I mean.
Whatever.
But we try to tell the truth. I think our whole little group really does try to tell the truth as much as we can, and it's sometimes at the detriment of some things. But it is what it is. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you guys taking this Friday evening to come hang out with us and get people's questions answered. And I have no doubt that we had very good viewership, so I'm sure this will be a good live stream for people to watch. And have a great weekend.
You too, man. Thank you.
Later.
See you, John. See you, Andrew. All right, everybody. So that wraps up another guest Friday live stream. Hopefully, everyone enjoyed this, and for all those people who are going to be watching this later on, I appreciate it. I know I had a few people who reached out to me this week and were pretty bummed they weren't going to be able to make it for the live, and they were very adamant that I made sure I published it so they could watch it later. So it will be, as are all of our lives, published. I rarely don't publish a live unless there's just like something totally stupid in it, but they're all on there, and you can search for them. Just go on the Silencer Student when you search YouTube and hit type in the word live, and they should all come right up. So good night, Robin. Good night, Tyler. Good night, everybody, and have a great weekend, everyone.